flowers and things. We're going to hear a little bit about that today. I'd like to thank Steve Hart for, and is John here? John, Brandon, Pierre, missed him. Steve, thank you for being a greeter. And Steve Hart is going to lead us in our invocation and pledge allegiance. Steve.
Very good, thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today. We are grateful for the time we had to have lunch with friends, to share ideas, to support one another, and work for the good of our community. Please guide us in our everyday actions and decisions. Help us to listen to others, to act with kindness, and to always seek what is fair, right, and beneficial to all concerned. Give us the strength and the inspiration to make a positive difference in the lives of our others. May our efforts bring hope, goodness to our family, friends, and our community. Bless us, bless our families, and all those concerned. Bless this food and the people who prepared it. And today, let's remember the families of those who passed away in the airplane crash last night. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. Would you close on? I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you, Steve. My name is Dennis Florian. I'm your home president. Thank you all for coming. And I want to make an announcement. If you guys can hold it down a little bit, I'll make an announcement. We have a couple of them, actually. We are going to have a field trip out to the San Jacinto Battlefield on March 22nd, which is a Saturday. And we had a wonderful presentation about what's going on out there a couple weeks ago from Chad Muir, who's on board. Those of you who weren't here, the state has approved $143 million to renovate San Jacinto, which is sorely needed. That's going to be an exciting project over the next couple of years. But the high holy days of Texas history are March 2nd through April 21st, and so we'll be kind of right in the middle of that. And my friend Vicki Houston Allen, who was General Sam Houston's great-granddaughter, is going to be with us. So we're going to have a direct Houston descendant touring the battlefield with us, which I think is kind of cool. I just got off the phone with David Avila, who was the director out there, and he's going to give us a private tour of the museum. And he said we could probably get to go down below the museum. You understand, nobody gets to go there. This is down at the bottom where they poured the foundation of the monument. And it's actually on the National Association of Civil Engineering sites or something like that. I don't know, what do they call that, Jim? Do you remember? It's a civil engineering landmark, and so they're going to talk a little bit about how they poured it and everything. You can still see the workers' footprints of the concrete down there. Some of them is pretty fascinating. As he indicated, there's about 1% of their collection is what they have room to display right now. So, when they get the renovation done and get the visitor center done, they're going to be able to display a lot more of their stuff. We're going to get to see some cool things. So if you're interested in that tour, let Debbie Klein know, and Debbie will take names. And we're going to go have dinner or lunch or whatever at the monument is when we're done. And if you'd like to see food, that's a great place. Cindy, where's Cindy? Cindy Heiser? Where is Cindy? Well, is Matt, are you ready? Well, here she comes. Cindy has some words about our upcoming gala, February 15th. Take it away.
Sorry about the delay. Thank you guys so much. And hey, after last week's announcement, I just want to tell y'all that we have surged in attendance for gala. It is going wonderfully. And there's some brioche knives. We just got I think it's a Bowie knife. I'm not a knife specialist, but it looks pretty cool. And it's from Dave Grimshaw, signed by him. So I just got that today. There's some great trips. One's to Croatia, one's to the Leeds. So hopefully
Gayla there, Nick Grant. And we have a number of guests today, so that's also positive. Clayton, just a little bit about yourself, if you want to just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Clayton. I was a recent graduate at Texas Tech University of Public Relations, Public Relations and Strategic Communication Management. Currently working at Lifetime Gyms in the operations area. So, and I'm a big sports guy, big Texas fan, and my favorite sport is hockey. Big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. But, yep.
Thank you. All right, and then Katrina is here. She is a Rotarian from Russia and has moved here to the Woodlands and is here visiting us. So, thank you. All right. Oh, and a social media influencer. Is that what you do? Yes, social media influencer. All righty. And then Anna. Oh, I'll let you sit. You go sit down. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Anna. I'm from Mexico City. I'm visiting my family here. I live in Austin. I'm a store manager. I work for Beauty here. So if you ever need any automotive services, you know where to find us. There's the best store actually here in the Woodlands. Is #1 in the country, so we'll be well taken care of. I don't know what else to say.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next section. Thank you.
Well, our condolences certainly go out to your countrymen. We lost some U.S. and Russian skaters in that terrible accident last night at the airport in Washington. And that's going to continue to unfold. And we just remember those people, not just the people who were lost, but their families certainly, and the first responders. I mean, I can't imagine having that job. Those are moments and images that they're going to live with the rest of their lives. So let's keep them in our prayers. And on that note, Teresa, are you around? Teresa. Here she comes. We have an announcement from Teresa Wagner, our former president. All around good guy.
Thank you, Kenton. So today I'm coming at you to you with a little bit different announcement than we're used to. I am in charge of family co-brokering, and so today we need to make an announcement to the club. Always very hard to do this. Sometimes you do it by email, and sometimes we're able to do it at the podium. But we wanted our Rotarians to know that Dave Zimmerman passed away yesterday, very suddenly, and more information is to come. But I just wanted to mention what a nice guy he was, and how he was such a gentleman. He would always take his golf hat off and put it in the corner because he never wanted it at the table. He would always bring in his check to pay for his lunch because it was Rule 85. But really for our club, he made such a difference when it came to district scholarships. And he got this really wonderful young lady, Alyssa, across that line and got her a wonderful scholarship this past year. She is now in England studying some kind of crazy science. I can't even explain it, but he was her champion for that scholarship and that opportunity. And so he will be greatly, greatly missed. But as soon as we get the funeral service arrangements from the family, we will let the club know via email so that we can attend. But with that, I say thank you.
Okay. You know, David was here last week. He's just sitting at this table right in front of me. So we never know, do we? And what a great man. It was never, in my experience with him, he was never out front. He was not one of these spotlight hogs that has to be, get their picture taken everywhere. He moved in the background and he did it this is time to be preparing for a very beautiful spring. So I've got my tools ready to go. They're not in the ground yet, but we're working on them. And Natalie is going to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon. It is my privilege to introduce my friend Ed Dolphin, my favorite arborist. Ed is the owner of the Woodlands Tree Experts. He has been a certified arborist for 33 years. He is also certified as a tree risk assessment expert, wild reduction expert, and oak wilt suppression expert. Ed loves to help people have healthy and safe trees and beautiful landscape. Ed Dolphin.
Thank you, Natalie. It's been a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I really do appreciate the opportunity. Natalie had told me that the speaker had originally canceled or something happened, and she's like, "Hey, you know me?" I'm like, "Of course." I love trees. That's why I do what I do. I got a degree in political science and a minor in Bible a long time ago from Abilene Christian University. I wanted to be a lawyer. And God told me, "No, I don't want you to be a lawyer yet. I've got something else for you to do." And I've been a tree owner ever since. Today, rather appropriately, I'm going to talk about great murder. And as I was walking through the parking lot, I'm like, wow, the timing probably couldn't be any better to talk about, for those of you that have got great myrtles, what to do, or shall I say, what not to do. How many people in this room have a great myrtle in their yard? Very good. That's fantastic. So this is really appropriate to you. Crepe myrtles are probably one of my favorite trees. And unfortunately, they're very underestimated in their beauty because most people do what the club has done. And I would love to, if anybody knows the director of agronomy or the Woodlands Country Club, Paul, of course, I would love to talk to them about why they did that to those beautiful trees out there. I'm looking at the trunk of a tree right now that probably 2 weeks ago was 35 feet tall, and now it's 6 feet tall. It is destined to have problems the rest of its life. And people ask me why. You know, why people do that? And that's a great question. So of all of those that just raised your hand, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, just be honest. How many people prove their great myrtles back the way that most people do in January and February? You see your hands. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. You know, it's funny. A long time ago, I did a non-scientific experiment. I asked people, why do you do that? And I got consistently 3 answers. I don't know, that's the way the landscaper did it. That's the way my neighbor did it. Or that's the way my mama did it. And ladies, here's the thing with as you go in age, when you're finally the matriarch of the neighborhood or the family, you can get away with anything. And one day, I was talking to an elderly lady. She was probably 95, and she had just done what I call great murder, great myrtles. And I asked her, I said, "Why do you do that?" And this poor little lady, she stood about 4'5", and she pointed at a window in her house, and she said, "That's my kitchen window. And when I'm doing the dishes, I like to look outside and see the flowers." So she said, "I cut my tree off at 5 feet, so that in the summer, the blooms are about 9 feet tall." I started thinking about that. I'm like, you know, when we're naturally looking forward, your field of vision is from 15 feet down. And I didn't have the guts to ask her, "Well, why don't you just look up to see the flowers?" Because I didn't want to offend her. But I thought, you know, I said to her, I said, "You're the reason why people do this." And she's like, "Well, don't blame it on me." I'm like, I said, "But you know, as an elderly lady, as mama, everybody looks to you and says, well, if she did it, it had to be what needs to be done. So everybody else does it." And for those of you that actually do that to your trees, on behalf of the trees, if they could speak to you, they would say, "Please do it." And if you haven't done it this year, hopefully by the end of this talk, you'll go, "You know what? That makes sense." So let's talk about to murder start at the beginning.
Oh, okay, you have the,
Here,
I'll get you taken.
sorry.
No worries.
I talk with my hands and my fingers are all over the place. There you go, perfect. All right, so I tell you what, I'm gonna wait, we're gonna go in now. To murder or not to murder? I love great marbles, and I think that for those of you who live in this area, I'm sure most of you do, if you want to see some great marbles that have never been touched, and they're absolutely gorgeous, they're at the corner of Research Forest and 45. There's 6 on each side of that street. And the problem with those trees is that the only place that you can see the flowers as you're going southbound on 45 over the overpass. Look to your right real quick, and you'll see the flowers in June, July, and August, and they're beautiful. They've never been touched. And I say never been touched, never been hacked back. Pruning a tree, whether it's a crepe myrtle or an oak tree, needs to be done periodically. Hacking a tree never needs to be done. But those, if you get a chance, in the summer, go by as you're driving down 45, think, I'm going to look to my right and see those beautiful crepe myrtles at the corner of Research Forest and 45. They're absolutely incredible trees. So what happens to those trees that most crepe myrtles that get tossed severely, during the summer, you get this black stuff all over the trunk. And as I was walking up, I'm looking at the close trees and they've got black stuff. Not all of it's not bad. But typically, when you do crepe myrtle, the sooty mold grows on the trunk because it grows on the excretion of insects. And the sooty mold, the excretion of the insects will get on the lower plants, like the shrubs underneath and on the flowers. And then there's black sooty mold. So many people call me about and ask, well, how do I get rid of this black stuff? And I'm like, the black stuff is only a sign of a bigger problem. Please don't do this. If you haven't yet, please don't do this. But the bigger problem is that. See those white things on there? That's an insect called scale. And scale loves great myrtles. They pack that. Scale, aphids, and whitefly. You can count on it. Etch it in stone. Put a bet on it in Las Vegas. If you do this to your great myrtles, you are going to have these problems. And the insects excrete on the tree. The sooty mold grows on the excretion of the insect. And so many people will go, well, I sprayed it with a fungicide, and I got rid of the black sooty mold, and it came back. You didn't get rid of the insect. The insects love trees that are under stress because their defense system is low. It's common. This last year, last October, November, I was seeing as you drive down like Woodlands and Research Forest, you see tons of dead pine trees. And the pine bark beetle, surprisingly, pine bark beetle have made it come back like there's no tomorrow. I was looking at a pine 3 days ago that had an active infestation of pine bark beetle. If you've got pine trees, I would greatly encourage you to call your favorite professional and have them check your trees to make sure that you don't have active infestation of pine bark beetle. The woodlands in this area has got a huge problem. And surprisingly enough, January is not the time that you would normally see it, but I saw it this week, and it started again in October because September and October were extremely hot. And that followed the hurricane, which put stress on the trees. We had 2 dry months, and November, December, and January have been the pine bark beetle's favorite time. Now, with the cold weather that we had, that will act as a temper in the spread of the insects, but it doesn't always kill them. It just puts them in sleep for a little while. Those insects, whether it's pine bark beetle or scale, they're kind of like a bear. The bears go into hibernation, and when they wake up in the spring, they go, wow, I'm hungry. What's to eat? And scale love great myrtles that have been butchered like these out high outside. And these are just more wonderful insects. The same thing, white scale. So people ask me, okay, well, what can sure that it's properly watered. Water is the single most important element in life. And all of you know that if you don't drink enough water, that negatively affects your body, and it negatively affects trees. I tell people all the time, the single most important thing only you can do as a homeowner is water properly. An inch of water a week, 52 weeks a year, taking into consideration rainfall or lack thereof. If you have an irrigation system, water no more than twice a week. That's perfect. The Woodlands tells you don't water more than twice a week. People tell me, well, I water every day. Don't tell anybody. You know, like, watering every day is like me spitting in a swimming pool and saying I added water to your swimming pool. I didn't affect the level of it, but I added water to your swimming pool. Watering less frequently, but more thoroughly, is the key to proper watering. An inch of water a week, 52 weeks a year, taking into consideration rainfall or lack thereof. Fortunately, we've had some really good rains, and we're supposed to get some more today. And literally, thank you, Lord, I appreciate that. That makes my job a whole lot easier. Yes, sir.
Does that include young infant trees?
Everything. He said, he asked, does that include young infant trees? Everything across the board. Azaleas, St. Augustine, whatever turf you have, if you water less frequently, twice a week, and you deliver half of an inch, it penetrates the ground deeper, which encourages roots to grow deeper because that's where the moisture is. That's where the soil is cooler. So if you water frequently, and you water for 10 minutes, I'm just making up numbers here, and the water's on the surface, that's where the evaporation happens first. So if you water thoroughly, it penetrates the ground, and the soil is cooler there, so it doesn't get evaporated as fast. And you're telling those plants, you want water? Go down there and go ahead. Yes, sir.
What's the best time to water?
At 2 a.m. Yeah. Now I live on acreage, and I drag a hose. And so I tell people that drag a hose like me, look, best time to water is anytime you can. But if you have an irrigation system and you can program your controller to go off at any time, 2 a.m. The wind is virtually dead, and the evaporation rate at that point, and that's the coolest time of the night. And the evaporation rate is the lowest. Less frequently, more thorough. People ask me all the time, how do I know how much I deliver? Literally, go into your controller, write down the amount of zones that you have, write down the amount of time that each zone is currently set to run, and then put something in a measuring device. And I tell people a measuring device could be something as a coffee can, a coffee mug. If you got 10 zones, put 10 different coffee mugs in the middle of the zone, not next to the sprinkler head. Because if you put it next to the sprinkler head, you're going to get a false reading. Put it in the middle of the zone. Because everything should get wet evenly. That's the key. Does it always happen that way? No. Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, so pine bark beetles. So I've been in places in Colorado where entire mountainside is wiped out by pine bark beetles on the tree. Could that same thing happen here if they got out?
He's asking if pine bark beetle can travel or spread like they do and have in Colorado, and the answer to that is yes. They're advantageous insects. They can fly. They don't fly very well. But they can go from tree to 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 tree. You know, for the woodlands or where you don't have, if you have large acreage, you're trying to manage that forest for those insects. The best thing you can do when you see that you have a breakout of pine bark beetle is to cut down those trees that are there and the surrounding ones around them. Even though the surrounding ones are green, cut them down. Keep the insects from spreading. I use the example that if you're a sheep farmer, and I get a lion, and I'm your next door neighbor, and you're like, dude, keep your lion in your yard. Well, my lion decides, hey man, I see sheep over there. I'm hungry. He's going to find a way out, and he's going to get into your pasture, and he's going to start eating your sheep. And when he's going to take a nap, and when he wakes up, he's going to go, no, there's still more sheep here. I'm still hungry. I'm going to eat some more.
pine bark beetle get to other types of trees too and damage them? Like
She has to, pine bark beetle can affect other trees. No, they're very specific to pine trees. Now, an oak tree, there's boring insects that are affected to take care of them. Longhorn beetle, I use the example that, please forgive me if I offend anybody by making my analogies, but that's usually the way my mind thinks. If you're a gay man and a beautiful woman walks by you, you're like, you can say hi, but you have no attraction to her. Pine bark beetle to a white oak, same way, whatever. The longhorn beetle to a pine tree, not attractive. Pine tree, pine bark beetle, and there's 8 different varieties of pine beetle that we lump into the same category, are specific to pine trees. And unfortunately, a lot of times your trees might have beetles in them and still be green, and you don't know it. And then all of a sudden, they turn brown. Literally, I hear it, well, just turn brown overnight. It happened overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It's been happening for a month, maybe a couple of weeks. But once that happens, those insects are done with that tree, and now they're looking for the next one. That's the problem with those insects. They are very, very, very easy to spread with scale on your gray marbles. Birds, squirrels, get them on the pads of their feet by landing on a tree and then going to another tree and depositing them. And congratulations, you now got another problem. Did you have a question now? So she asked how to prevent pine bark beetle. There are sprays. It depends upon on what you want to use. I mean, so people ask me, I only want to use organics. And there is an organic spray that is derived from a chrysanthemum that's grown in northern Africa called pyrethrin. Pyrethrins are an excellent insecticide. The problem with spraying them on the tree is you have to spray on a pine tree. You want to spray as high as you can physically hit. With pyrethrins, they wear off really fast, especially in the summer with the UV rays and the rain. I love pyrethrins. Using that on smaller plants. There's a synthetic derivative of pyrethrin called a permethrin. The science said, how can we make pyrethrin, but chemically, permethrin, it lasts a little bit longer, but you still have to spray way up the tree. The method that I prefer is direct injection into the tree. 20 years ago, if you had asked me about injecting a tree, I was hesitant to that. And most of that was, my hesitancy was because of the methodology. People would put these tubes in the trunk of the tree with a device that's connected to it that had the insecticide, and they would just leave them there. Well, you leave them there, and guess what happens when the kids come walking by? They're pulling them out and going, what's this? It looks like a pipe. And then they put their mouth on it. So I don't do that. The product that, the type of method that I use is literally, we drill a small hole smaller than your little finger and about 1.5 inches deep, and we put a plug in there that acts like a backflow prevention device. And then we put a needle inside that plug, and we inject a product called Triage, and it's an excellent product. It lasts for 2 years. Now, here's the thing. Triage, it ain't cheap. But I can tell you this, it's a whole lot cheaper than cutting down your trees, especially when the stuff lasts for 2 years. Yes, ma'am.
Is there like a bird or a squirrel that is a natural pine bark beetle?
She's asking if there's a bird or a squirrel that will eat. Correct. The definitive pine bark beetle. Woodpeckers, when people say, well, I see woodpeckers on my tree, that means I've got beetles. Woodpeckers will, but when you see a woodpecker, the old woody woodpecker, the big guy, and he's listening. If your pine tree has beetles in it, at night when it's really quiet, you'll hear them eating on the tree. It sounds like this. We can hear that at night, but the big belated woodpecker can hear it during the day. And when he lands on your tree and he's listening for that, he goes up there and he starts pounding it apart, peeling it away. He's looking for that larvae. Now, the active stage, the stage of a pine beetle that kills the tree is the larvae. And while when somebody says, well, I've got woodpeckers on my tree, that means my tree's got beetles in it. 99.9% of all insects that use your tree as a place to live are just that. They're using your tree as a place to live, like you use your house. You sleep there, you put your stuff there, you raise your kids there. The last thing you're going to do is burn down the house because you don't like it. The pine beetle, or any type of insect that is designed to kill weak trees, 1/10 of 1% of the insects that will use your tree as a place to live. Management is extremely important. Making sure you have healthy trees is the way to manage that. Making sure you water properly is one portion of that. Now, fertilizer, that's a beautiful tree, and I just had to throw that in there, because that's what Craig will show you. But fertilizer, what kind of fertilizer do you use on your grass? And so many, gentlemen, I'm going to throw you under the bus. So many guys are like, well, I don't want no weeds in my yard, so I can use weed and feed. Well, the oak tree that you have in your yard, guess what that is? It's just a big weed. Atrazine is the active ingredient in weed feed. That's the chemical. Atrazine recognizes St. Augustine, Bermuda, Vescu, and centipede as the southern turfs. Those are good. Everything else in your yard is a weed. And over time, it will kill those weeds. I was at a gentleman's house this last summer in Tomball. He had one tree in his yard, and his yard stretched from that wall to that table there. And he had one tree in the middle of it. It was big. And as soon as I pulled up, I thought, tree looked at the grass, looked fantastic. This tree, not so much. Live oak. And live oaks are tough trees. And when you kill a live oak, ladies and gentlemen, you've accomplished. I tell people that if you kill a live oak, it's like killing a Navy SEAL. Those guys, if you're able to kill a Navy SEAL, you better bring your A game. If you kill a live oak, you've accomplished something. So I get out past this gentleman, and I felt so sorry for this guy. He's probably 75, 80 years old. And I love your quote from Thomas Jefferson. I might be old, but I'm a young nature lover. And he did. He loved his tree. That's why he called me. And he's like, I said, sir, tell me what kind of fertilizer you use on the grass. And he says, well, I use Scott's. And I'm not trying to throw any name brand under the bus. That's just what he said. Weed and feed comes in a lot of name brands other than Scott's. He said, I use Scott's. I said, yes, sir, I figured. I said, how long have you been doing that? Oh, 15, 20 years. I said, you realize you're killing your tree? And this poor gentleman looked at me like he was 4 years old. And he said, why didn't someone tell me? And my heart broke for him. I literally, I was like, I said, sir, pull out your reading glasses and a magnifying glass and read the label. It says, in print, it's about 72nd, inch tall. Don't use under the canopy of your trees. And guys, I can tell you this, because I am one, men are the world's worst at reading labels. You know, you pour that stuff into the hopper and keep going. Start spreading it. If you're not done when you get down to your yard, go get another bag. only fertilizer that I use. It's the only fertilizer that I recommend. Now, there are other organic fertilizers, and I'm sure they're great. I met the owner of San Jacinto Environmental Supply in Houston 35 years ago. His name is Mike Soran. Mike is a brilliant man. And I realized the day that I talked to him for about an hour that he will forget more about plants in that one day than I'll never know in my entire life. And I look back 35 years later and go, you know what? They still stick to that. Mike Soran is a brilliant man. And the line of products that he has developed is phenomenal. And if you don't use Microlife, I'm going to encourage you to do so. It addresses the microbial activity in your soil. And when you have a healthy microbiome in your soil, or even in your gut, if you have a healthy microbiome in your gut, guess what? You're going to be healthy. And when you have a healthy microbiome in your soil, your plants are going to be healthy. When your plants are healthy, they don't produce the pheromone that attracts the insects. That's the key. That's the part of the management. Water, and what kind of fertilizer do you use? It really is that simple. And people ask me all the time, it can't be that simple. Yes, sir.
Found that if you water your grass before, right before the sun goes down, you're going to get fungus. But you're saying, of course, water at about 2 a.m. Why does that happen, that you get that fungus?
He's asking about watering before the sun goes down. So typically, here's the thing. St. Augustine, if you have St. Augustine in your yard, the one thing that I would almost be willing to bet on, you're going to have brown patch. And excess moisture in the soil, when the sun goes down and the temperatures cool, causes brown patch to flourish, to flower. Literally, it's a fungi. And they produce a flower. Now, you don't see the flower, you see the end result in your yard in big brown circles in your yard. And if you have St. Augustine, I would be willing to bet, unless you use this product, you've got brown patch in your yard. Now, the good thing about if you use Microlife, there is one up there for brown patch. And I don't see it, but it's there. The fertilizer is inoculated with a mycorrhizal, which eat brown patch. It's like if you took your kids to the candy store. Eat whatever you want. The mycorrhizae in that Microlife brown patch eat the brown patch fungi. Now, one application of this stuff is not going to make it go away forever. But if you use this stuff on a regular basis, I tell people all the time, and people ask me, well, can you do this for me? Yeah, I can. And it's not part of my advertised services, but I'm all about making sure you have healthy trees. And if what you put on the grass, or if you've got a company that does it for you, and I've got friends that do this, and I hate to throw them under the bus because I love them, but they all put down the same thing. They all have weed control. And what are your trees? They're just a big weed. Not many companies that I know of use strictly organic products. Because, and I'm going to say this again, guys, because men are the world's worst at growing weeds in their yard. And some people ask me, well, all right, I want you to start using Microlife in my yard. Are the weeds going to go away? No. How long will it take? 3 years. And men, guys, we're not patient. And waiting for 3 years for something to happen is like watching paint dry. It's not fun. And the end result, you might like, I really like that wall. But I shouldn't have had to wait 3 years for it. Yes, sir. people ask me, well, my landscaper did that. Shouldn't they know better? I'm like, yes. But do they? No. And again, I'm not trying to throw landscapers under the bus because I have a lot of friends that do that. And they do mulch volcanoes. And what a mulch volcano does to a tree, it's like if you put a rubber band on your finger, and then you put your hand in your pocket, and you keep your hand in your pocket for a year, and you finally pull your hand out, and you look at your finger and go, wow, my finger is black. Why? Well, it's the rubber band you put on your finger. The mulch literally cuts off the circulation of water and nutrients running to and fro in the trunk of the tree. How does that happen? I don't know. That's one of the questions that I'm going to ask Don when I get there. You know, I can't tell you, but if that's the way it happens. Yes, ma'am. So typically, she's asking about mushrooms in her yard. A lot of times after construction, how old is your house? Okay, in 26 years, still there is organic matter in the soil, most likely when they built your house. And you know this, builders are the world's worst. Just cover the trash with sand and put grass on top of it. That's called a fairy ring. When you see them growing in a circle like that, it's called a fairy ring. Mushrooms are the flower of a fungi. Do they bother me? No. Some are edible. Don't eat them out of your yard without checking that. My point is, some are edible, and they're actually very good, and they're good for you. Fungi are simply a way to, number one, break down organic matter, which is a good thing. Breaking down organic matter feeds the humic acids in your soil, which is a good thing. Using a product like MicroLife, which is inoculated with microbes that literally eat the bad fungi and leave the good fungi to do their job. Now, how does that happen? Well, I can't tell you. Mike Sarant, the guy I was telling you about that owns Central Sonoma Environmental Supply, dude is brilliant. And how he figured this out is it's like if you ask me how they put a rocket on the moon with a big engine. I don't know. Ask Elon. He can tell you. Mike Sarant knows how to inoculate a fertilizer with microbes that eat the bad stuff and leave the good stuff alone. Fungi in your yard is a good thing. Unfortunately, advertisement tells you it's not. And we're all guilty of letting advertisement direct us in the way we spend our money. Weed feed. Scott's makes an excellent fertilizer that is directed directly toward you. You want your yard to look better than his. And he wants his yard to look better than his. So if you put this stuff down in your yard, it's going to make that happen. That's the short-term benefit. It kills the weeds, turns the grass green. The long-term effect is the negative effect on the health of your plants. Yes, sir.
I've had grub worms. Should I put BT down every year?
You asked about grub worms. You know, here's my thing, sir. I only use insecticides or fungicides when they're absolutely necessary. Now, in my yard, and I live out in the country on a couple of acres, I've got armadillos that come in, armadillos and possums come in and rut up and look for the grub worms. Now, you probably don't want armadillos coming in and digging in your yard. Should you put down a granular insecticide? You said BT. Bacillus thuringiensis is not designed as a insecticide.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's just BT is not an insecticide, or at least the products that I'm familiar with that are labeled for BT. BT is really good for controlling mosquitoes, the larvae of the mosquitoes. It's a good product. Do I use blanket sprays for anything? No, I don't. I truly believe this with all my heart. Healthy soil will regulate the negative and the positive. More positive, less negative. But again, that doesn't happen overnight. That's the key. People ask me, where do I buy this stuff? You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it at Ace Hardware. And if you live around this area, the Ace Hardware, Kirkendall, Woodlands Parkway is your best friend. Now, that's a scary store, man. I went in there one time to buy a $4 plumbing part and walked out spending $600 for a gift for my wife. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for saving my pine tree in the early 2000s. I remember that. From the pine bark beetle. It cut it up and everything else was so. But I wanted to ask you something. We have azaleas that are a little bit of a sad idea. I don't know what it's trees or it's over the ground this morning. And great roll right next to it. What are your azaleas? What would you do?
So, for azaleas, azaleas love acidic soil. They love it. Fertilizers common fertilizers that are put down, that are broadcast, raise the pH of the soil because your turf loves alkaline soil. Azaleas, they want directly the opposite. So the thing about the microlife for azaleas is it brings the pH of the soil down. Now, does that happen overnight? No, it doesn't. It also has sulfur in it. And azaleas, lacebug love azaleas. And that's one of the things that in the middle of the summer, when your azalea leaves have like a white thing on it, it's called stippling. And that's caused by lacebug. The sulfur makes the azaleas taste bad. And it's kind of like if you went to a restaurant and your food is terrible, you're never going to go back, or at least you shouldn't. And the sulfur in the microlife makes the azalea taste bad to the lacebug, and they go, let's get out of here, let's go to the next place. Yes, sir.
You look a little familiar. Do you remember ever going to Waverly, Texas, looking at the trees for a guy with her back there?
Yes, sir. You live next to Diane again?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I believe if I remember right, you had a terrible whitefly problem on your hackberry.
I did.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yes, sir.
I sure had a lot of silkworms on my trees and I got some neem oil thing. What's the best way to get rid of silkworms?
So silkworms, you're probably identifying. They're called webworms.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And webworms, to be honest with you, when people call me about webworms, I tell my clients, look, they're bird food. Don't worry about it. Let the birds eat the webworms. Some people are intolerant of that and they want to spray them. You have to spray the whole tree. And last year, webworms were terrible on sweet gum. And you have to spray the whole tree because the insects, the worm part of the insect are out during the day. They only go back to the web at night. It's kind of when you and I go to work. If somebody were to go in there and try to kill you at home, well, you're not there. It might kill your wife and kids. I'm sorry, that's a bad analogy, but it's really appropriate. Because you're out doing your job. The larvae, the webs, or the insects, the caterpillars are out working. They're out foraging, bringing stuff back into. So if you want to spray them, do it at night. It's real pain. If you're only going to spray the web, or spray the whole tree. Now the problem with that is, when you spray up, what's up comes down. And that's why I only spray trees with prongs are great bird food. Again, it's back to your patience and your tolerance. I believe that was one more. Okay, I'll start now. If anybody has questions, please let me know.
We donate the book in your name to Haley Elementary School Library, and if you would sign that, we will get it to the library over there. Thank you. And a round of applause for I'll give you a couple of terms to Google. First of all, just Google mulch volcanoes, and there'll be YouTube videos that will explain why that's a terrible idea. That's like the favorite thing.
Name of my next band.
To do is have a mulch volcano besides the crepe murder. And I posted literally last week. I live in the Falls in Imperial Oaks, and I took pictures of these trees right here, and I posted something on my neighborhood Facebook page that said, hey, don't do this. This is a really bad idea. And here's why I said Google crepe murder, and the arborists and the people at A&M and the county agents and all that, they said, look, we've been fighting this 30, 40, 50 years. People are going to do what they're going to do, but this is a bad idea. Don't do this. A whole bunch of people got mad. And they started, the thread was really interesting. I just kind of said, just forget it. But Google those two terms. Another thing you might Google is, this is hard for me. Sometimes the Yankees can be pretty smart. They have a website called if you Google Texas Superstar Plants, if you're looking for trees, shrubs, ground cover, grass, whatever it happens to be, they'll have columns of plants, and they guarantee to grow. You can't just pick off of this list, and they virtually guarantee them. So that's what I put in my yard, and I'm proud of this. I'm not going to go on about it, but the trees in my yard are amazing. They're this big around, and they're huge, and I now have a canopy of these two trees that have grown together over my driveway. They're beautiful. And the trees in my neighbors, which are older than my trees, are these little spindly things. About like this, and they're those little things the builders throw in there. And my neighbors are like, man, what are you doing? And I fertilize them, and I trim them, and I take care of them, I water them appropriately, and they're just big, beautiful trees, and so that's what your trees will look like if you do it right. I also put down about a half-inch of compost in the lawn this time of year. Now and in the fall, that'll help your grass absorb and hold water, and that does all kinds of great things for your lawn. You'll have this rich, healthy, beautiful lawn if you spread compost on it. So all that, good luck to you. Thank you for coming, Ed. And brother, time for a drawing. Todd Bryant, y'all.
Ed, thank you for the talk. You seem like a fun guy.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm here every Thursday. Couple quick announcements. We still need volunteers for the gala, so folks that can help with setup and folks that can help with registration, and especially tear down at the end of the night, where we take stuff off the tables and kind of pack it away before the Marriott takes it away. I brought my laptop, so if anybody wants to sign up, I can help you get signed up for that. Also, next week, we discovered that people aren't carrying cash like they used to. So next week, we'll have it set up where if you want to buy tickets, you can use our little square. So you can use a debit card and a credit card to get tickets for the raffle. So I see a lot of smiles out here. Awesome. So, a forest ranger was trekking through a remote campground, and he caught a whiff of something burning in the distance. So farther along the trail, he found an old hermit that was cooking his evening meal. "What are you cooking?" the ranger asked. "Peregrine falcon," replied the hermit. "Peregrine falcon," the conservationist said. "You can't cook that. That's on the endangered species list." "Well, how was I to know?" said the hermit. "I haven't had contact with the outside world in ages." So the ranger told the recluse that he wouldn't report him this time, but he wasn't to cook peregrine falcon ever again. "By the way," he asked, "what does it taste like?" "Well," replied the hermit, "I'd say it's somewhere between a dodo bird and a whooping crane."
Sorry.
All right, so we raised $61 for polio eradication today. Yay. And our gift certificate is a Chick-fil-A gift card from Judy Olson. So thank her when you see her, especially if you win it. 609-7744. 609. All right, Ellen. Congratulations.
Almost free. Bring her.
All right, thank you very much. Great drawing, great program, and thank you all for being here. If you would all stand up, we will close with a four-way test. It's on the screen if you're a visitor. We close with this every time. Of all the things that we think, say, or do, number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair and well concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And for our club, is it fun? The magic of Rotary is our theme this year. Go out and make some magic happen, and good luck with your yards. We're dismissed on time.